The NBA Finals ended recently, seeing Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks triumph over the Devin Booker, Chris Paul-led Phoenix Suns. The series was hard-fought, with the Bucks winning in 6 games and overcoming a 0-2 deficit, with this being the first playoff appearance for most of the Suns roster, and Chris Paul's future with the team up in the air. We thought we'd talk about what the future may hold for the team and its players. Today, we're going to take a look at what's next for Chris Paul, Booker, and the Suns. So make sure to stick around. Real quick, before we get started, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss any new content. Now, let's get right into the video. First, let's talk about Chris Paul's role on the Suns. It's no exaggeration to say that Phoenix came out of nowhere this season, or is it? When the Suns acquired Chris Paul from the Oklahoma City Thunder in a trade before the 2021 season, many analysts didn't predict the profound impact that he would have on the team. But the Suns knew. Paul immediately became the main distributor for the team, taking some of the offensive load off Booker, and the team took a massive leap, breaking their playoff drought and making the finals for the first time since the 1990s. So it's safe to say that Chris Paul is an invaluable part of this team. And if the Suns want to mimic their success from this season, they need to get another strong distributing point guard. Next, what about Paul's future? With the success he brought the team, I think it would make sense for the Suns to bring him back. Sadly, it's not up to them. Paul has the opportunity to accept or decline his $44.2 million player option. So why might he not accept it? Well, blowing a lead in the finals with subpar play might discourage him from re-signing. His success with the team also landed him MVP votes, which raised his free agency value, so it wouldn't be totally surprising to see him leave the valley. It's all up to Paul, really. With the loss to the Bucks, he became the first player to lose 4 playoff series after leading 2-0, and his legacy as a player is marred by his lack of playoff success. So if he really wants to ring chase and sign a veteran's contract, would anyone really blame him? Well, Chris Paul probably would. I think Paul wants to win his own way. And now on a young team with rising stars, I think he's found his place. But only time will tell. Next, what are Chris Paul's potential destinations? With the player option looming, we don't know if Chris Paul will stay in the Valley, even if it looks like he might. So we're going to mention a few teams that are potential destinations for him. The Phoenix Suns. Now, like we said, Phoenix would be the safest option for Chris. If he accepts his player option, he would be able to get paid and stay on a strong young team, but we've already talked about the Suns extensively, so let's move on. The New York Knicks. The Knicks have a ton of cap space this summer, and Paul is one of the better players on the market. The Knicks saw a resurgence this past season, making their first playoff appearance since 2013. Paul would replace Elfrid Payton, who played poorly last season, and would help the Knicks make another respectable playoff run. But it's unlikely that he would experience the same success he did with the Suns, with the supporting cast consisting of Derrick Rose and Julius Randle. But if Paul wants a big payday and to play for another big market team like New York, then don't be too surprised if you see him playing in the Garden. The Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers' only real limitation is their cap space, but that doesn't seem to be an issue with them, as they still almost took on Kyle Lowry's contract before trade deadline. Their roster speaks for itself, with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, as well as the championship already under the belt. If Paul wants a ring, this looks to be his best choice. The Lakers don't need another star. However, with the trade pieces they have, they could easily make a deal for a young star like Damian Lillard. That being said, don't entirely count them out either. The Miami Heat. Now, the Heat might seem a little bit left field for some of you, but hear me out. A year ago, they went to the NBA Finals and lost in 6 to a healthy Lakers team when 2 of their best players were out with an injury. The whole squad is all around strong, with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler being notable standout stars. To get this deal done, the Heat would most likely have to do some sort of sign and trade with Duncan Robinson, as he is an upcoming restricted free agent. It's not like he doesn't have value either, since he ranks among the top 3-point shooters in the league. If they manage to pull off a sign and trade, the Heat would literally have no money left. But in the pursuit of a championship, it's all worth it. Next, let's talk about Devin Booker's emergence. Before this season, Devin Booker was putting up all-star type numbers on a losing team. Many considered him to be another Anthony Davis, a player that's really good but needs another superstar to really shine and win. Others thought he was a good player but needed someone to be the main star on the team. This season, he proved them all wrong, especially in the playoffs. Even with another star on the team, in Paul, Booker continued to put up great offensive numbers and efficiency. He continued his reign into the playoffs, where he dropped multiple 40-point games in first playoffs. Many saw this as the origin story for Devin Booker as a superstar, and it's really hard to see it any other way. Next, Devin Booker's future. The Suns have Booker locked up until 2024, when he'll be 27, and then he'll enter unrestricted free agency. But that doesn't change the fact that they could trade him in the future. He is without a doubt one of the more valuable trade pieces in the entire league due to his age and potential, and and with Chris Paul's future with the team unclear, who knows what the Suns might do. That's probably not going to happen though, so Sun fans can breathe easy. Booker looks set to become a bona fide superstar. If Paul doesn't sign with the Suns though, look for them to target a big name free agent to give Booker a solid supporting cast. Whatever happens to Chris Paul, it's safe to say that he's going to stay in the Valley for the foreseeable future. Now, what about the rest of the Suns roster? Now, Booker and Paul are only two players, and you can't make a championship run with only two players. Luckily, the Suns roster is full of solid starters and role players. Deandre Ayton proved himself to be a valuable draft pick for them, guarding the paint against driving players. Other standout players from this season include Jay Crowder, whom the Suns got from Miami, and Cameron Johnson, and McCall Bridges. The rest of the roster is full of solid young players who help make the Suns as formidable an opponent as can be. Next, let's talk about the potential roster changes. Despite all the success we mentioned the Suns have had, they still fell short of their ultimate goal, to win a championship. To do that, I think the Suns need to do three things that will ensure their future success, with or without Chris Paul. This way, whether he resigns or not, they've laid the foundation for a solid team, centered around Booker. First, they should extend Deandre Ayton. Deandre Ayton has now become eligible for a rookie extension, and I see no reason the Suns shouldn't do that. He has a lot of potential, especially defensively, and in each of his first 3 seasons with the team has averaged a double-double. He's learned how to fill his role in the team effectively, and he's extremely efficient on the offensive end on the floor, shooting a high percentage from the field. The Suns need to lock up Ayton for the foreseeable future in order to develop the dynamic between him and Booker. Second, they should extend Michael Bridges. Bridges is another solid starter on the Suns roster. He was selected in the same draft that Ayton was and traded to the Suns. There, he's seen significant growth. He's also been solid on the defense end, but this season he's seen amazing growth in offensive efficiency. His shooting splits this season show he's shooting over 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 80% from the free throw line. He's become an invaluable member of the team, able to fill his role effectively as well. That's why I think the Suns should extend him for a reasonable price, as he's a role player any team would want. Finally, they need to strengthen their bench. In the finals, it was evident that aside from stopping Giannis from driving, the Suns were lacking bench activity. Dario Saric went in the first game of the finals, so they lacked a solid backup big man when Ayton was out of the game. That weakened their second unit, and against Milwaukee's strong defensive bench, players like Cameron Payne just didn't show up like they did against the Clippers. Now, what I think that means is they need to get a defensive big man on their team. Some analysts have suggested someone like Nerlens Noel, who no longer has significant playing time in New York. This would also help them protect the paint and close lanes for driving, as well as giving them the ability to take Ayton out and have no worry about defensive breakdowns like they do now with more offensive guys like Saric and Frank Kaminsky. Whatever they do, the Suns, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul have a bright future ahead of them. Well, that about wraps up the video. Let us know if you have any suggestions you have for future videos. What do you think will happen with the Suns? Feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.